How's it going, everybody? This is Mike Gray, 1951, and I'm here to do episode 3 of my Halloween horror film countdown. This is about the 5th time I've tried to do this video, and I keep either making dumb mistakes or really stupid mistakes, and I never catch them until the whole thing is finished. So I think I'm always make a mistake when I try to drink rum and coke when I'm doing this. So Ian, this is your fault. When I saw the other day, give me a toast in one of your videos, I went out and bought another bottle of rum. So anyway, so cheers. So this is episode number 3, and the movie I'm showing you tonight is even more obscure than the one I showed you last night. So I'd be surprised how many people, well, if anybody has seen this or knows about it, please let me know. The film is called Incubus. Incubus. I love that glare in this room. An American film made in released in 1966, starring William Shatner, and it was filmed right before Shatner went in to do Star Trek. Okay, so directed by a man named Leslie Stevens, who was the principal gentleman who created the fantastic 60s TV series called The Outer Limits, one of my favorite shows of all time. And he was a writer, producer, director, and he did all of those things with Outer Limits. And he took his little crew of people, like Conrad Hall, cinematographer, and Dominic Frontier, the musician, and some other folks, and who had worked on Outer Limits, and they all went in to make this film. It was filmed in California in the Big Sur, and also in other locations in California. There was an old mission church called the Mission San Antonio that they used, and filmed, of course, on the California ocean coast, and gorgeous black and white cinematography. So let me read the back of this, because they always do this much better than I can. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of the plot. Okay. William Shatner stars as Marco, a soldier of pure heart who has just returned home injured from the war. Doesn't say what war or where they are, actually. He becomes the target of Kaya, played by an actress named Allison Ames, a beautiful female demon, defined as a succubus. I know you've all heard that term, who has become bored with taking the lives of corrupt men. Kia sets out to seduce Marco, but ends up falling in love, angering her sister demon and forcing her to summon the Incubus to wreak revenge. It's kind of the bare bones of the plot. The movie takes place on this strange isolated island, right? There's a village on the island called Nomen Tuum, which is Latin for your name or thy name, and comes right out of the Lord's Prayer, Sanctificator Nomen Tuum, hallowed be thy name. So this village has a fountain of water that has healing power, and a lot of people come to be healed of sickness or something. And it also has the power to make someone more beautiful, more attractive. So it not only attracts people who are sick, it attracts people who are vain and corrupt. And that's why these female demons are here in this location, because they have souls that are corrupt and can easily be, damned for all eternity. So they lead them into more corruption. They kill them, primarily men, and then these men, their souls are damned for all time. And that's why this particular demon named Kia is looking for more of a challenge. Rather than corrupting a man who was already evil in his heart, she wants to corrupt someone who fears God, someone who is a pure of heart man. Okay? So that is who William Shatner plays. And that's the gist of the story. Now, Kia finds that when she is trying to seduce this man, basically he seduces her, not with sexual power, but with the power of love. And he tells her he wants to be with her, he wants to be with her forever, but only if it's right. And his love for her is so pure and so sincere that for her it is a corruption, right? Love has corrupted her, and she wants to take revenge because in her mind she will be destroyed if she is if she is filled with purity. So it's all very twisted and very strange. It's kind of a religious allegory as much as it is a horror film about the nature of good and evil, the conflicts between good and evil, the light and the darkness, and it's very well done. It's also very much an art film. Now, it's funny because when I was watching this, I didn't know what to expect. I was expecting it to be kind of a melodramatic mess. And although I like Shatner as an actor very much, he's very good in most things he does. He's very good in this too. He can sometimes just emote so much that it's almost, just way over the top. But you just kind of get used to it. That's the way Shatner is. But it was very, very well done. And I found myself thinking that I was watching a Swedish art film. And I'm not the only one who feels that way because I read a lot of reviews online after I watched it. And a lot of people were talking about Ingmar Bergman. There's some scenes on the beach where these hooded figures are walking around in black with the light of the sky behind them. It just reminded me of the scenes from Seventh Seal, And a lot of people were also talking about Akira Kurosawa, a filmmaker I'm not familiar with at all, but it is definitely very much an art film with horrific imagery and horrific aspects to it, right? And some of them are very creepy and very well done. The film does not have a lot of violence, just enough to make it uncomfortable for somebody like me, but it's not overdone with violence. After all, this was the mid-60s, and the violence hadn't really started in most films at that time. Okay, so I give this a very high recommendation for those of you who would like to see something that is very, very different. And it's also different for another reason, because this was the first film ever made entirely using the artificial language called Esperanto. Now, if you don't know what Esperanto is, it is a language that was created in 1887 by a doctor from Poland, I believe. Can't remember the guy's name. He took elements of some of the Romance languages of Europe, primarily French. He also used German, Polish, English, and he created a language that was relatively easy to learn, easy to pronounce, and had verbs that were very easy to conjugate, which of course is not true of the languages I just mentioned. But he wanted to do this to create an international language that would bring people together in peace and harmony and help everybody be able to communicate. And it certainly never became, what he wanted in his dream. Even today, there are only about maybe 2 million people in the world who can speak Esperanto fluently. And I think there have been other films since made with Esperanto as the primary language, but this was the first one. So anyway, that's that. But according to William Shatner, there are two commentaries on this DVD. One is by William Shatner, and the other is by the producer and the cinematographer of the film. Two cinematographers. And Shatner said that nobody knew how to speak Esperanto. Obviously, Leslie Stevens, the director, was very familiar with it. Maybe he did speak it fluently. I don't know. It wasn't said. But they all went to a 10-day Esperanto camp in California where they were all just completely immersed in this language, so that they all had quite a bit of familiarity with it. And Shatner made it seem like he spoke it pretty well, at least for a while. But a lot of the people were just speaking their lines basically phonetically, just pronouncing them without really knowing what they were saying. And Shatner says that part of the reason for the kind of strangeness about the way people relate to each other in the film is because they really did not know what they were saying to each other. And so I don't know. But it was a fascinating experiment, if nothing else. And I like the way the language sounds. And I'm somewhat familiar with Esperanto. I can't say I've studied it, but I have memorized a few words and phrases which I won't pronounce here because I'm sure I pronounce it very badly. But yeah, it is a fascinating experience. To me, when I listen to it, I think it sounds like Italian. But what do I know? So The film has a lot of fascinating things to it. It also has a curse attached to it, the curse of the Incubus, because a lot of the people who were involved in this film came to very bad ends. For example, an actress named Anne Atmar, who played Shatner's sister in the film, committed suicide shortly after it was over, after the film was made. And the guy who played the Incubus, who was the demon who actually rises up out of the ground, he's pretty creepy, played by an actor named Milos. Okay, his real name was Milosevic or something like that, but he shortened it. And he was involved with the estranged wife of Mickey Rooney at the time. Now, Mickey Rooney had a whole bunch of wives, but I guess at this point in his life, he was married to a very young woman. Can't remember her name. So this guy got involved with her. Something happened. He ended up killing her and then killing himself. And also, Leslie Stevens was married to Allison Ames, who was the lead actress in the film, and they got divorced right after the film was over. Their marriage fell apart. So a lot of people think that the film was cursed. Now, according to William Shatner's commentary, when they first started making the film, it was in the Big Sur area of California, there was some hippie guy who came out of the woods and wanted to know what they were doing and what it was all about. And when he found out what the film was about, I guess he got very upset. It was either that or somebody in the company insulted him and just pissed him off. He put a curse on the company. He put a curse on the film and everybody in it. Then he went off back in the woods and never saw him again. And Shatner actually believes that this guy put a real curse on the film. So that's kind of strange. So anyway, so this film was lost for about 30 years. I guess Leslie Stevens, when he, I keep wanting to call him Leslie Nielsen, but it's Leslie Stevens, right? Not Leslie Nielsen, the actor. When all these bad things with his actors happened after the film was released very briefly to a couple of film festivals where it did quite well, he pulled it from distribution, and it was only released mainly in France, right? And then it just disappeared for 30 years. And then when the producer of the film, Anthony Taylor, wanted to try to find the film and put it out on home video, he found that almost every print of it that he thought existed, locked away somewhere, had been lost or stolen. Nobody knows what happened to them. Maybe it was the curse again. But he managed to track down one print in France, and it was in very bad shape, and it had French subtitles. So they managed to get this print, and they completely remastered it, did a lot of work on it, remastered the sound, and it looks absolutely beautiful. But the only thing is, they couldn't remove the French subtitles. So in order to put English subtitles on this release, they had to make the subtitles quite large, and they gave it a big black background to block out the French subtitles underneath. So one of the drawbacks to watching this is that these subtitles are huge, and they're almost right in the middle of the picture. And this has a lot of close-ups, so these are right in people's faces. But that doesn't ruin the film. It's actually beautiful to look at. Shatner is very good. The other actors are good, and it seems to take place in another dimension. It's not really established what time what time this is, what year. It seems to be taking place in the past, sometime maybe in medieval Europe, and it's just not really made clear. It just seems like it's in another dimension somewhere. So I just think it holds up very well, and I would recommend this to everybody, especially to my friends James Higgins. I know that you like these kind of arty black and white films, and I think you might appreciate this. And also my friend Justin, whose YouTube name is Dandy Don't Go In 237. Justin, I think this is. I would be surprised if you didn't already know about this, and maybe you even own it, because this is something I think you might appreciate. Because I know you like art movies. This is something that would be an appropriate Criterion Collection release, in my opinion. But maybe I'm playing it up too much. But anyway, I'd like to know if anybody else knows about this film, and if you have any interest in it, please ask questions, complain, and I'm going to finish my rum and coke. Thanks, folks. Take care.